All right, we live. We ain't got no theme music here, but we live. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Hope everybody's good. Oh man, so welcome to another episode of Cognitive Dissonance. This is the Daniels boys, David and Wayne, Wayne and David, and we're here to discuss some things that are going to be a little bit challenging to people. We want you guys to please like this, share this, or if you don't like it, don't like it, but share it. Right? Let somebody know about it. Join the conversation because we're going to be discussing some things dealing with New York and the nation at large when it comes to this election that's coming up. And we named this Cognitive Dissonance because that's what most people are suffering from right now. That's just the reality of the situation. Unfortunately, there is such a thing as a PSYOP, which is psychological operations and programming, and it works on some people. It doesn't work on others. That's a proven fact according to the three-letter agencies. They actually have it where certain people are susceptible to certain frequencies, other people are not. And these are tests that they run on the population. And so we believe that that's part of the reason why there's such a divide. Half of the population believes one thing, another half believes another thing. It's because to some the programming works, to some it doesn't. And some people just go along with the status quo. There are other people who are free thinkers and who don't mind rocking the boat and going against the status quo. But with that being said, that creates issues. It creates divisions. It creates separations between people because our brains are literally operating differently, right? And so I'm one, and I hate to say it like this, but I'm one that used to believe in like following the status quo. I was a status quo follower. Like I did the status quo stuff. I voted a certain way. I believed a certain paradigm until my world was changed. I went and lived with people who believed and voted very differently from me. And I learned some things, and I found out that I was wrong about those other people. I was wrong about the political positions that I held, that type of stuff. So we're going to talk about this stuff because myself, my brother, my father, my parents, all of us, we've had these conversations. We talk with our family members and friends, our cousins, distant relatives, whatever. And we're always having conversations about this stuff. And some people still believe the way that they do. Others have changed certain beliefs. Some have come completely over and changed entirely. I went from, a Democrat to a Republican.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So to anyone who's listening, does this sound like I have reverb or an echo?
God.
Because last time it said, no, seriously, last time it was,
I think
it was
like
almost inaudible. You said it sounds like I'm peaking. It's probably because my input volume is a little bit too high. Is that better?
Nah, you just got quiet though. So like super quiet.
Said I just got...
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Hold on. Yeah, what's going on, everybody though? Let me see how it sounds on Facebook.
Yeah, maybe that's my cable. I don't know. Might be my cable. That's really bizarre.
It says I'm live, right? Yeah, I'm live.
Yeah.
Cool, we live. Let me see. Live.
I wonder, is it my interface?
Cool. No, there's no echo on yours.
Okay, cool.
That was you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, no echo. So yeah, cool. So yeah, anybody want to join us, man? We look forward to having a conversation, man. So please like this, share this, and spread the word about this. We're gonna have some interesting conversations on this evening. Let me send that out to my followers here. I tagged you in it, David. Yeah, so I tagged you in it, and you should be able to. No, I didn't. Hold on, let me tag you in it now. I'm gonna add you as a collaborator. All right, yeah, we got some interesting stuff we're gonna talk about tonight, guys, because there's a lot of stuff going on in this world. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna just address some things. So, one of the first things I want to address and deal with is Pastor Donnie Swaggart, right? Pastor Donnie Swaggart, and then I mentioned another name is Pastor Alton Walker. It's actually Walker, W-A-L. I don't know why I mistyped that, but it's Pastor Alton R. Walker. And we're gonna get into these things because everybody's in a tizzy right now. And I'm gonna play it. I'm actually gonna play it. One of the videos actually got taken down. And this is why you guys need to have a TikTok account, so you can just see
Right, and
videos
contrary to
that,
popular belief, TikTok isn't as bad as people say it is.
nah,
I
it's
think
not.
that they want to get rid of TikTok because TikTok allows you to see everything.
Yeah, like somebody took one of them down, but let me see if I can refresh it and pull it back up. There was another one of him. But this is basically Pastor Donnie Swaggart, and he's addressing black churches. He mentions it, and of course, everybody in the people in the black churches who are, first of all, people who are in the black churches who are Democrats are having a conniption, right? They toe the party line, and I get it. I was there once. They're having a conniption because he's a white preacher. He's a white evangelical preacher who is addressing the black church, and so I found a clip from about a week or so ago from another pastor, and we're going to address both of these. And I think he's actually just kind of regurgitating what this other pastor said. And I'm going to play both of those videos for you guys so that way you can have the context of both of these things. So then we're going to address what they're talking about. So the first one I'm going to pull up is Pastor Donnie Swaggart, who talks about black churches. And this is him right here.
But somebody needs to stand up and speak to the black church. When the largest African-American Pentecostal denomination, when that leader stands up and said, I endorse that woman, he was saying, I endorse murder. I endorse homosexuality. I endorse lesbianism. I endorse transgenderism. I endorse every evil that hell could prosper or bring up to the right. That's wrong, folks. And the black church votes predominantly for the party that is anti-God. What's going on here? What's going on? See, my statement to them is this. We've had them call into the program. I don't like it when you talk about like that. Well, no, the problem is they don't like it because we're stepping on their toes. Hello? They're cowards. You see, listen. Whenever you take a stand like I'm taking, there will be some people leave the church. But somebody needs to stand up. And
You have to unmute your mic. I don't know if you're muted.
Yeah, I did. I muted
Yeah,
myself. All right, so this is Pastor Donnie Swaggart. Now, Pastor Donnie Swaggart is Jimmy Swaggart's son. He's a big Pentecostal preacher. And I don't like the way that they spliced this video. The other video was actually more clean. It was just him and his words, like what he said. It was a little bit longer. But this is a little bit of a doctored version where he talks about they're cowards. He was just actually talking about people who don't stand against it. He wasn't calling black churches cowards or whatever else. In any case, in the other video, he actually made a caveat. He said, they're going to call me racist for this, but I got to say it anyway, right? This is what he actually said when he started his statement. He said, they're going to call me racist for this, but I got to say it. And of course, he was right. And I'm going to show you a couple other pastors because here's the thing. So there's another pastor who goes off on Pastor Donnie Swaggart about this same issue. He goes into the black people, the this, the that, the third. And he's talking about, what is his dad sharing? And he's talking about the other, basically a different perspective. Right? So I'm going to play that video next, okay? So we're going to play that video next. And then we're going to play the last one. We're going to play another black preacher. So the first one was Donnie Swaggart. He was calling out black churches because they're agreeing with an agenda and they're voting for the party that he claims is against God. Now we have another black pastor.
And he was accused of being racist, by the way.
Yeah, he was accused of being racist by black people, right? Because he's white and he's a white evangelical, so therefore he must be racist if he's talking about black churches. I don't like that. We're gonna discuss that.
And I think at some point we have to review the definitions. Racism has a specific definition.
It sure does.
System.
Yeah, it is a system. It's not just somebody who doesn't like you or you think doesn't like you. And just because they disagree with you, or they say, like a white person, saying a white person is not allowed to say anything about black people, or black people not allowed to say anything about white people, is absolutely crazy. It's nonsensical.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous to think like that. But in any case, let's deal with this other pastor now. This is a pastor who's rebutting Donnie, Pastor Donnie Swaggart. Okay, so we're going to play this pastor next.
White churches set the stage for Jim and Jane Crow segregation, and y'all children who are still doing the dirty deed of toxic theology. I saw yesterday that one Donnie Swaggart, who is the son of Jimmy Swaggart, had the nerve from his perch of privilege and prejudice to stand up on a Sunday and call out the black church. Wait, what? He called out the black church. He said, when you support her, didn't even call Kamala Harris by name, but said when you support her, you are supporting sin and evil and supporting all kinds of stuff. Y'all, I'm tripping as this white boy is calling out the black church. Now, let me park here parenthetically and hope that old Donnie tunes in. Donnie, come here for just a second, because first of all, the fact that there is a black church is a judgment on white Christianity, because there would be no black church had the white church not been more white than they are a church. Oh, I'm on one tonight. I'm letting y'all know that right now. And Donnie, my sisters and brothers, had the nerve to call out the black church because in his mindset, we're supporting Kamala Harris, while the white church is supporting Agent Orange, because somehow Agent Orange is the candidate of their God. I get that, because their God ain't my God. My God is the God who showed up in Exodus on the side of the oppressed. My God is the God of divine justice. My God is the God that so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. You see, God loves the world. I guess who's in that world? Palestinians are in that world. Congolese are in that world. Haitians are in that world. Gay folk are in that world. The LGBTQIA community is in that world. God so loved the world. And if you don't love the world like God loves the world, to hell with you, Donnie. White churches set the stage.
All right. This is a lot, right?
Well, I like Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes. Other than what he just said, I mean, it's one of those things where people, they get caught up in trying to create controversy when there really is no controversy.
Correct.
And a lot of these guys, they do it for sound bites, they do it for clips.
Yeah, because he knew this was going to happen.
Right, he knew this was going to happen, and as far as I know, there's no such thing biblically as divine justice. So, I mean,
we all have...
we all have our own colloquialisms
exactly,
that we say.
Exactly.
But
everybody creates their own pet doctrines and theologies to promote and things like that. So that's a reality. So that's the second video. I want to play one more video for you guys, and then we're going to discuss all three of these and their perspectives and points of view. Because someone said that the first video we played was, again, of Pastor Donnie Swaggart, who addressed the black church as a white evangelical Pentecostal. And he addressed the black church and said, basically, shame on you if you're voting for the woman. He said her. He didn't call her name. Of course, black people seem to be really emotional about that, and they take offense when you don't call her name, and they take it personally, as if something was done to them. That's something that I actually noticed, and I find it quite interesting that we do that. We only do that in certain things, like when it comes to politics and certain figures. Like I had somebody on one of my posts a couple days ago tell me, like, we're all George Floyd, and I'm like, no, we're not. I'm Wayne. My name is Wayne E. Daniels Jr. He's like, no, we're all George Floyd because it could have been you. No, I wouldn't have been high on nothing. I was not high on I don't smoke. I don't get high. He was high at the time of his arrest. So, like, we can't act like everybody is always the same. We got to stop doing that. At the same time, he talked about his prejudice and whatever else, prejudice, privilege, and that type of thing. We're gonna address some of this stuff. So, there's one more clip I want to play, and this is another black pastor. Okay, it's another black pastor, but this black pastor has a slightly different perspective and approach, and I want you to hear what it is that he is saying. Where'd he go? There it is. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I just had the clip and it disappeared. Oh, I hate when that happens. There is a clip, but there was oh. Give me 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. I know where the clip is at. Hold on. I just had it. I sent it to somebody. Give me a second. We're going to play this clip for you guys really quick. There it is. Hold on a second here. Yeah, I saw that on Larry Reed because Larry Reed, of course, posts everything controversial. But give me 1 second, guys. Here we go. All right, this is the video. There it is. This is the one.
In church.
All right, give me a second here. Let me set this up real quick. All right, this is the other one. Where we at? Here we go.
I don't know this gentleman's name, though. I don't.
Oh no, this is Pastor Alton R. Williams.
Okay.
Pastor Alton R. Williams, and he has a slightly different perspective than the last black pastor. So let's hear what he has to say.
Oh, here we go. Huh? I love the Lord. He heard y'all. Oh, see, y'all take a stand when you're in church. Oh, here we go. Huh? I love the Lord. He heard my cry. I'm baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost. I speak in tongues. Yeah, you can do it around everybody else in church because it feels safe. But the issue is, what will you say out in the midst of that world? Will you stand up for Christ when you're out before the world? That's what lets us know where your commitments are. The church is bowing. Here go the hard part right here, and I'm finished. But this is the tough part. Y'all ain't gonna like this part. But there are two gods that the black church, and I don't like to say black church because God don't divide his church black and white. We all are part of the church. But I'm saying it to give reference to the African American churches. Two gods that many are bowing to today, and that's the God of LGBTQ and the God of blackness. People have made a God out of color. In other words, I gotta be with my color. I gotta stand with my color, meaning I'll reject Christ. Color gonna get you in trouble. I'm not saying you don't love your people, but if my people go contrary to my convictions, I can't stand with you. Come on, somebody, say amen. Church is bowing to this LGBTQ thing. Yes, they are. I'm seeing it happen all the time. What they did, here you go. They pushed LGBTQ on black people. And now, in order for you to be in line with black folk, you gotta almost accept LGBTQ. Preach, Holy Ghost. Here's what hurt me. Now, I'm finna say it, you ain't gonna like it, but I'm giving you truth. When Obama put the colors on the White House acknowledging this nation honors LGBTQ. I saw black folk and black preachers compromise. We got to accept it because our black president goes along with it. I don't care what president, what color he is. If you ain't in line with God, I can't stand with you. And that's what's causing y'all. Yeah, I'm preaching up in here. You're getting off with God because you're trying to stand with black. I can't vote for a party that is for all kind of sexual perversions. I can't do it. I can't vote for a party that's going to accept transgenders going into women's restrooms. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go with a party that wants to cut little girls' breasts off to make them boys. I can't go with a party that says you can be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to remove God from its party platform. You in trouble when the nation forgets God. I can't follow a party that wants to sexualize our children in school, put drag queens in front of them, reading them little children's stories. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to take the rights of parents away. In California right now, parents are being arrested because they won't go along with the sexualization of their children. But there are many parents that are compromising. Y'all got to make a decision. It's either God or the devil. And when you vote, you try to ignore it and say it ain't no big thing. But when you vote for people with these convictions and they get in office and they start doing these things, you got a responsibility for it. If you've compromised in any way, you need to repent. Stand up on your feet and give God some praise.
You got to unmute.
Dang, I keep doing that. So yeah, that was Pastor
Yeah.
Alton R. Williams. So those three clips, very interesting issue that we are facing here. Now, those of you that are watching, please, we'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts. We want to hear you guys and engage with you a little bit. But so the first video we played, Donnie Swaggart, and Donnie Swaggart basically, I believe, was kind of parroting what Pastor Alton said, because Pastor Alton's video is actually older, if I'm not mistaken. That video came out a couple of weeks ago. Pastor Donnie just said it today or this past Sunday, and now everybody's in an uproar. The second pastor disagreed with Pastor Donnie. He's a black man. He feels like Pastor Donnie, as a white man, didn't have the right to say anything to the black church. But then now we have this Pastor Alton Williams saying exactly what Pastor Donnie was talking about, Pastor Donnie Swaggart. So now, is this a matter of racism, or is this a matter of not wanting to have anyone say anything to you? Because the go ahead, Dave. What are you thinking? Because now, just so you know, so everybody know where I stand. I don't think Pastor Donnie was wrong. I think he was correct that the black church did need to be addressed in these things. I disagree with the other guy. David said, you like him. What's his name? What's that pastor's name?
Frederick Douglass Haynes. Like, you know, I like his presentation. I didn't agree with what he said there because I think he's absolutely 100% wrong. We have, like, even though there are some, just people in general that, they're like, even like Dr. Umar Johnson. I think he's wrong most of the time, but I like him. I like his
he's at least trying.
I like his oration skills. I can tell that he actually cares about the black community, but I think sometimes he's just absolutely wrong. I think he's entertaining, but Frederick Douglass Haynes, I think he was 100% wrong.
I agree 100% with that.
And I think he was 100% wrong because I've said this before. The Democratic Party in general has been telling black folks to kiss their behind for about 60 years?
Close to 80 now.
80. Like, who was it? Malcolm X has been talking about, white liberals, Democrats, whatever. It's all the same. And this has nothing to do with anybody's skin color. It just has to do with the establishment of that party. The establishment of that party has never been kind to black people. And then you have people saying, oh, well, it's different now. It changed. I said, no, it's still the same. When you look at
better at hiding things.
Right. When you look at things historically, they never change. There's all sorts of manifestos and documents that have been published that you can find these Democrats specifically talking about black people. What is it? LBJ, they call him, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Right.
He was forced to sign that civil rights bill. And even when he did sign the civil rights bill, it still didn't specifically help black people.
No.
Look up what Lyndon B. Johnson said about the black population. Like I said, the Democrats have been telling black folks to kiss their behind, the blackest part of their behind, for decades.
Yeah, you're right, though. And it's unfortunate that these are the type of things that we are facing right now because we have a large number. I don't know if it's still the majority because now there are black people who are switching over from the Democratic Party in droves. Now, I know that there are some who just like, I absolutely can't vote for Trump for whatever their reason is, and that's okay. Because I'm not necessarily saying, we don't necessarily promote that anyone has to vote for Trump, by the way. Like, that's not our position and our stance. We're not here saying that you must vote for Trump.
And I have an understanding of why people vote the way they do. A lot of people base their beliefs on how they feel rather than looking at real-time data.
Yeah.
And what have you done for me lately, and what have you done for me at all? So they go based on how they feel. So a lot of times your belief influences your feelings, and that's why your feelings influence your beliefs, which is why people vote in a certain way. But I say, hey, look, if you're gonna vote based on data, vote based on policy. I urge everyone to look at everybody's policies.
See, and actually a good friend of mine. What's going on, Pastor? God bless you, man. I wish you could join me. I would love to hear your voice and hear your thoughts on this, man. If you're open to that, shoot me a message on Facebook, and I'll send you a link where you can hop on with us and join the conversation. We're just looking to talk, to be honest with you, and just engage with our community, with other communities, because for a while, I lived in Missouri. I was a staunch Democrat for years, like my whole life. We were born and raised that way. My parents were they towed the line too. My dad's on here. They kind of towed the line. My mom, the whole family, one side of my family was Baptist, the other side was Pentecostal. And so pretty much everybody was Democrat. That was just by default. And he said the second pastor has, I want to address this too, because Pastor Andrew is jumping on here. So I want to put his stuff up here so we can actually talk about it. He says, it's more complex than that because to address black churches' voting habits, you must address it in context. So I'm guessing you're talking about Donnie, right? Pastor Donnie Swaggart. He says, why do black people vote Democrat? The messenger matters. And I understand that. I used to be that way. I used to think and vote based on the person and not necessarily the party. And that changed for me, or not even the party anymore, but now the policies and what the policies that are being promoted and pushed. I used to vote for the messenger. I used to vote for the voice or the one that was out front. until I realized and like I said, and this is my realization. Everybody hasn't come to that. Not everybody will. I'm okay with that. It is what it is. People get to vote for whoever they want. My issue and why we're doing this and having these kind of conversations is to get people to think about why they're doing it. Because if you're only doing it because he's not that person, like if you're only going to vote for Kamala because she's not Trump and you just hate Trump that much, we got a problem, right? We have an issue. Oh, he says he's willing to hop on. Love it. Yeah, this will be good. This is going to be good. Hey, Pastor, shoot me a message on Facebook, or let me see if I can shoot you a message. Because I'm going to get you on here, man. We can have a good conversation. He said the second pastor has a point. The fact that there is a black church is the racism that would not include black people. Okay. And then the third pastor is a black pastor. So I would love to hear what you have to say about him and his perspective. Let me get you a link. Let me get you the link, Pastor. We gotta get you on here real quick. Let me get you the link real quick, man. Because I'm not here to. Let me see where you're at. I'm gonna send it to you on Facebook Messenger here, sir. So give me a second. There you go. Yeah, get you on here live. All right, let me see, Pastor. I sent you the link. So yeah, when you get that live, and we'll get you on here when you jump in. But yeah, so yeah, like this, guys, share this. Let's discuss this stuff. Okay, so my dad says, good point. Can you expand on some of those complexities? And I'm gonna give him the opportunity to talk. We're gonna actually hopefully have a really good conversation. He said it's emotionalism at its best to vote Democrat just to toe the line, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's something that, like I said, you guys. I mean, like, you know, we grew up. That's what black people did. But for me, I got bothered when I moved to Missouri. And I met all of these racist white people in the middle of the most racist area in America, right? Like the central Ozarks, the Ozark Mountains of Missouri, where I moved to, where they were supposed to be the most racist people. And I met some of the most loving, some of the most kind, generous, God-fearing, God-loving people I've ever met in my entire life. And they were white evangelicals. These were not black Baptists. These were not black Pentecostals. I actually had the honor and the privilege of pastoring a majority white Church of God church. 200 people, white people, had me as their pastor, a Pentecostal boy. And they
so
embraced.
That means you're biased.
Yo,
no, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. There are people that call me biased, but how is that possible if these people were racist?
Right, and then what happens is, I've heard a lot of stories from black folks. They said that black folks actually have treated them worse throughout their lifetime than white people. But I also think that we have to gain an understanding truly of what racism is. Racism has characteristics. Racism has mechanisms, right?
That's correct.
So once you dissect and understand what racism is, fewer things are actually racism.
And here's what it is. What we have to realize is that what people are calling racism is what actually is just preferential treatment.
Yeah, right? Like bigotry or prejudice.
Prejudice, bigotry. Oh, you accepted the link? It should give you an opportunity to hop on, Pastor. I'm waiting for you in here. Let me see here. I'm waiting for you. So I sent you the link. You should be able to pop on any second now. Yeah, this is gonna be good. I like Pastor Andrew. He's a really good guy. He's a down to earth, common sense. We got along really well. I'm glad he's able to hop on actually. If this link will work, this will be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's see. I don't know what it's telling you to do, but do that if it gives you some instructions.
There's a gentleman that he's kind of took TikTok by storm. He's from Africa. He lives in America, and he talks about, you know, what racism really is. If I can find that video,
yeah, see if you can find it.
it.
Said you've accepted the link. All right, I'm waiting for you to hop in here. I'm not sure if there was something else that you had to do. I don't know if it's your browser, what browser you're using. Sometimes Chrome browser works best. I'm not sure if that's the thing, but we're waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to hop in. Pastor, that'll be good though.
Hold on, I'm looking for the video now. I'm gonna
Yeah, let me see
send
if I
it
can,
from my
get
phone to my
this.
computer.
David, what kind of instructions?
Okay, I got it.
What kind of instructions
I
are
got
there
it.
when you log on?
So when you sent the link, I just click the link and it opens up and then the browser opens up.
Okay, so it might
So
be
it
a
should
browser
be
thing.
it should be that simple. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can.
Were you trying to share a video?
Yeah, I was gonna try and play it, but I don't have.
Yo, this is gonna be
can't
good.
assume.
This is called cognitive dissonance, and we're addressing these issues. We're gonna do them politely. We're gonna do them honorably. And again, we're just discussing our perspective because again, we came from a background. Our perspective has changed since then, and of course, it's unfortunate that when you hear something from a black person. Here he is. He's jumping in now. Oh, that's David. That's David. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can add it on. There it is.
Can you hear that?
Nah, hold on. You gotta have to do something with the. Hold on. Press play. The audio's not coming through your system.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll send you the video.
Oh, you got earbuds too, so it's probably not. Yeah, send me the link. I'll play it.
Oh, I don't have the link. I just have the video. So I'll just send the video through what
Messenger?
Messengers. Yeah, it's only like 1 minute and 28 seconds. But I think hopefully. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, there we go. You should have it now.
All right, it's a messenger.
Yeah. So I'll stop sharing. Here we go.
Hold on a second here. Oh, what did it do? Oh, that's what I did. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. So what's up, y'all? Hold on. We're about to play this video. Let's see what he's talking about. And then I'm gonna wait. I'm still waiting for you, Pastor. I would love to get you in here.
Situation was classism,
Hold on.
not racism.
The what?
The George Floyd situation, George Floyd when he was murdered, that was. So you think the George Floyd situation was classism, not racism?
The what?
The George Floyd situation, George Floyd when he was murdered, that was a classism situation.
So there are 50 states in the America. That's quite a lot of states.
It's quiet.
In each state, let's say average 20.
I can hear it.
Okay.
That's a lot. And each town or city has its own police department.
Are you sharing the video?
How many states in the United States?
Yeah. Hold on a
How many
second.
towns
Let me
every
do
day?
it like this.
So you think the George Floyd situation was classism, not racism?
The what?
The George Floyd situation, George Floyd when he was murdered, that was a classism situation.
So there are 50 states in the United States of America. That's quite a lot of states. In each state, let's say average 20 towns and cities. That's a lot. And each town or city has its own police department. How many states in the United States and how many towns every day do you hear police is killing black people? We can count the number of black people that got into altercation with police and it turned fatal. We can count it. We can't count how many black people have been gunned down in this country by their fellow black people. Who is racist here? You choose to say the few encounters, and now that is police have died in the line of duty in this country. It's a dangerous job, and the only country in the world where a policeman's wife is worried, would my husband come home or not? In other places, it's only the military people when there is a war that you worry. You got people high on all kinds of substances at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's a gun ownership country. But police have to stop these people.
There he
Look up
is.
with a lot of anger, pushed in them by their own
got you. You in
parents,
here.
claiming that somebody don't like you because he's racist. So you're angry by the time you turn 12. It's foolish.
Very interesting. I actually saw that clip the other day, Dave. I think you showed that to us, showed that to me, and hold on, let me get back to the camera because we got Pastor Andrew. Pastor Andrew Wilkins is with us. I'm gonna bring him in real quick, man. I'm gonna bring you in, add in here. Boom, there he goes. There he is. God bless you, my brother. God bless you, man. Grace and peace to you. I'm happy you were able to join us, man. And again, I want you to understand this. For me, this is just we're having conversations. This is going to be open, transparent, real deal. I love you. I'm not against you. I hope you're not against me. I don't have any enemies. These political issues are challenging. They are bothersome to some. They are a nuisance to others. To other people, it's like a way of life. It's ride or die, right? So let's talk about. Did you get to see all three of the clips? By the way,
I saw the last two, but I had already seen the clip with Donnie Swaggart.
All right, cool. So let's start with that. Let's address Donnie. Let's start with Donnie. Then we're going to go to Pastor Frederick, and then we're going to go to Pastor Alton, and we'll address all three of their perspectives. Is that okay? Could we do that? Perfect. All right, so what's your take? Like, let's start off dealing with Pastor Donnie Swaggart. This is Jimmy Swaggart's son. Of course, he's a white evangelical, and we say white evangelical because that's just how things are categorized today. We have white evangelicals, and then we just have the black church or whatever the case may be. But he's a pastor. He happens to be white, and he's now being accused of being racist because of his statements. He actually said it in another video. He prefaced it. He said, I'm going to be called racist for saying this, but I feel like I just need to say this. So he addresses the black church and tells the black church that pretty much you're wrong, gives us a scolding, in a sense, saying that you're wrong for voting for a particular party because of these reasons. So how do you feel about that? What do you feel about his statements and him first of all, addressing the black church?
I feel like it absolutely wrong messenger for several reasons. And I think context matters, and it goes deeper than it just being a white man. It's number one, to address the issue voting block of the so-called black church that tends to lean Democratic without addressing that in its context. And the reality of its context, I think, is disingenuous, and I think it's negligent, because it paints the picture as if, either it's just A, of naivety, or B, a matter of wickedness. That's not the case. The case is that racism or the legacy of racism plays a large role. Okay. Whether or not one believes that the Democrat is actually for black people or not is really outside of the scope of the conversation, because it's really about perception. And so if black people perceive the Democratic Party to be in their favor, or fighting for them, fighting for their rights, fighting for their issues or the issues that concern them, then that is the impetus behind the reason for voting a Democrat. And to ignore that, I think is negligent. As he himself said, there is no perfect party, there's no perfect people. And so I think a lot of time the left leaning, or leftness, if I can say, is really the same thing that people who lean right do, which is ignore what's wrong or try to overlook that towards what they believe to be positive or beneficial. So to then make it as to a weight of sin, well, this sin is so or this is more egregious than that. I think and you're against God if you are voting for this party, which, when both sides have things that are wrong with it, I think is incorrect. And I think what also adds to the larger conversation of this is, you're addressing the largest Black Pentecostal church. You're pretty much attacking their leader, their presiding bishop. When the irony of it is, you're descendant of the Assembly of God, which is a church that only exists a Black leader. Yeah. They didn't want to be Church of God in Christ because they rejected Bishop Mason, and correct. So that and you would not license Black ministers, send them over to the Church of God in Christ if they were a Black person. So that the irony that you rebuke the Black church when only such a thing exists, to the second preacher's point, when only such a thing exists because of the exclusionary actions of the very entity that you're descended from. It to me is like crazy.
Okay, so now doesn't that speak to the state of this is more what we're dealing with are reactions. This is a reactionary.
Wayne, not to interrupt you, but there's a crazy echo on his. I don't know if you hear it, but
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it?
No,
Okay.
It's probably just the microphone. He has an open ear mic.
Oh, okay, because it's probably going to come out that way.
It'll be fine. It'll be all right. Because I can actually hear him fine over here.
Oh, okay. I guess that's on my end. I just hear like feedback. Sorry.
Oh, okay, it might be, but yeah. So and I hear what you're saying. I don't want to discredit that at all, and that's one of the things why I started to kind of address these things from the stance that I take, is that a lot of the things that the black culture has done has been reactionary. It has not been proactive. It hasn't been let us consider this and do this because this is what we want to do. It's we want to avoid that. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do this instead, which is whether it's a protection thing, whether it's what else could it be? I mean, there's a myriad of things that it could be because of, but ultimately, like my question is like, you mentioned it. Why does the black church in that sense? Now, because it's not the whole black church, mind you, we're that the black church is splintered on that too. Whether some of the white churches are splintered on that as well. So it's not really a clean cut line to say the black church as a whole is voting Democrat and the white church as a whole is voting Republican. It's not quite as black and white as that. To be honest about the numbers and how things are going. But truth be told, like as far as the history is concerned, why do you believe the black culture, community, and church has gravitated away from their original party, which was Republicanism, into the Democrat Party and to support those particular agendas and the things that they promote?
Well, I think, to address that, we have to acknowledge the historical context of even the switch in parties, which is a thing around in the 60s, where you had many of what were they called, the Dixiecrats, that fled the Democratic Party because of the Civil Rights Act.
I want to address that before we go farther. I want to address that. I have to address that. So just so you know, I'm a history buff. Okay, I have done extensive research on that particular subject. If we go into the congressional records and look at the actual parties, like you can actually go and look and get the list of who is who's registered on what side. That whole Dixiecrat thing was actually a propaganda piece that got blown out of proportion. There was one person who officially switched parties. It was Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was like a big Democrat at the time, and he was actually very well connected with the KKK. He said he felt more comfortable with the Republican Party. That's where that whole Dixiecrat switch, that's where the story started from, was that they said, oh, a bunch of Republicans switched parties. If you look at the actual congressional and the Senate record on the names on each side, only one person switched. Strom Thurmond. Now, was he a major voice in the Democratic Party and started to have some pull in the Republican Party? Yes. It would be disingenuous to say he didn't have any kind of effect on how the Republican Party operated after that. However, there wasn't a mass switch that happened at that time. It was one person. And from there, did the Republican Party lose some of its Republicanness? Absolutely. Here's my challenge. He left the Democrat Party to go to the Republican Party, but none of the Republicans went to go become Democrat. So how did this, what we call the switch, how did the switch happen if it actually never happened? Because Republicans didn't all of a sudden start going to do what the Democrats were doing. They just got a little bit looser with the way that they did certain things. So now when you have the 1964 Civil Rights Act, instead of it having language that specifically speaks to black people, it is now general language. So it's everybody's involved. This is civil rights for all, any people, instead of it just being for black people. So I could see how that affected the Republican Party and their legislation and how they were trying to do that. But because ultimately the Republican Party did have a legislation that was specifically for blacks, but it was the Democrat
And a lot
Party.
of people don't. And what's coming out now is that the Democratic, I think it was the senators who were pushing the legislation through. They didn't want the language in the bill.
That's correct.
Specifically for black people, it was Democrats, not Republicans.
That's
And
right.
It's just now starting to come out, but a lot of people didn't know that. Unfortunately, we don't read as much as we should.
So the Democrats, so what happened was they blocked the first bill, right? The Democrats blocked it. When they changed the language, then the Democrats took credit for the bill because they got rid of all of the language that said black people. They made it generic and general. And then they said, we wrote this civil rights bill. Everybody come to us. Look at us. Look, we did such a great thing. So when you start studying the minutia of the actual history, it tells a little bit of a different story. The same thing with Jim Crow. Those laws were Democratic laws. That was not Republicans. That was actually Democrat lawmakers. It wasn't Republican lawmakers. When it came to a lot of the other things that we give credit to, we say that the Republican Party was had a hand in, if you actually go look at the records, like the congressional acts that were written, it says a very different story. It actually says that the Democratic Party are the ones who are against all of the stuff. Like when it came to segregation, right? When segregation was happening, it was the Republican Party that was protecting the blacks integrating into the schools. The Democrat Party fought against it. They didn't want them to do it. This is only now, like I said, because we have information and the age of information, all of this stuff is starting to come out now. If someone is willing to do the digging, we'll find a different story. And those are the things that I started to find out. I was like, well, wait a minute. Well, this is not what we were told. And if that's the case, yeah.
I think it's a little more complicated than that because you have, of course, and as history would tell, you have the majority of black people being Republicans prior to the 1960s. And so there was, of course, it gets dragged when they talk about the switch. That but there was a coalescence.
I agree with that. Yes, there was.
And start going into when you move into the 70s, when you have what's his name, Nixon, come to power and things, and conservatism start to come to rise, and conservatism meant how things used to be, and that includes racism, that includes oppression. Those who kind of felt that was the American way, or that was what they were used to, coalesced eventually around that party. So no, it was not a dramatic overnight flip switch, but there was a gradual coalescence. And then the second thing about that is then we also have to understand and take in consideration what that felt like for boots on the ground, for people who lived in that time. And I understand what you're saying, that the bills, didn't have us specifically in mind, just like the Emancipation Proclamation was not specifically about us.
No, it was it was general.
Yeah, even the Civil War in general wasn't even about slavery.
Yeah,
that whole thing. Yeah.
There is no history of our country that is about us. So, but understanding, though, in spite of that, what it felt like for a person whose boots were on the ground, who was living that life, and even though it was not specifically about them, it affected them. And so, can you imagine being our grandparents' age and living a childhood and maybe an adolescence and the teenage years on the back of a bus, and not only segregated schools, but schools that were segregated with less resources, with less opportunities, and then but this bill is passed and things begin to shift and things begin to change for your reality and for the children that you're raising. You now have an opportunity for them to have better than what you ever had as a child yourself.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
going that's going to have real world effect for you and your choices and how you perceive the party that is taking credit for that, whether
That's
or not
agreed.
they actually thinking about you. And so what has happened, and you kind of alluded to it when you talked about the fact that these bills took out language that specifically included us and what made it more so inclusive of all, because the Democrats and left leanings were more the party became the party of progressiveness. And so now, in order that was like the eve in order to reap the benefits of progressive policy that would help us, the evil that you had to carry along with that was these other left-leaning progressive policies that are less reflective
This
of Black people's
this is what I'm
norm.
saying. Yeah. Yeah. This is where I want to get to though, because this is the part that we never talk about. This is the part we don't get to because we're caught up in the identity of what color the person is or what gender the person is that's running, or the words that they have said, whether, the tweets that they made, that type of stuff. We don't get into the nitty gritty of what is actually the platform of the party itself. Because if we look at how the black, like, I can't say that since we started voting Democrat that the black culture has gotten better. I can't say that the black community has in fact improved. Now, as a whole, everybody kind of came up. That includes the Hispanics. That includes the Haitians. That anybody who came over here had opportunity to grow, and they did that, right? So it wasn't like we were just super suppressed and everything else like that. But at the same time, there was nothing done specifically for black people. But at the same time, we seem to have not grown as much as other nationalities, like the Asians. They went so far from being held in internment camps to now they're one of the highest earning groups in America. How'd they get past us? Like, what did they do that we didn't? What did they know that we don't know? Like, that type of stuff. Those are the type of conversations I'm trying to get into and have. Yeah.
The powerful thing is, though, or what makes a difference is that there are certain things that have to be family chats,
Agreed.
family that and I would even venture, and this may sound far-fetched, but I would even venture to say that this is a conversation that can only be had by those of the African diaspora that landed in this country, that are descendants of that, because there is a unique history and
Correct.
unique challenges because of that history for those who are descendant from that legacy, so that you can't even, there's only but so much you can even understand as maybe a person that's descendant from like the Caribbean or something, because it's a different history.
It is very different. Very. Yeah.
Right.
And so that goes back to my point regarding I was about to call him Jimmy Swaggart, that's his dad, Donnie Swaggart, as rebuke of the black church is, to me, completely tone deaf, because number one, I'm sorry. For me, part of it is like this. Like, if you're like, say we're brothers, right?
Yeah.
We're brothers, and can't know, because you're my brother, someone who does not align with you and has not shown history of having your best interest at heart cannot check you, even if they're right.
I got you.
Come for
Okay.
you. I will go behind closed doors and
Right.
we'll have a conversation. And
Okay.
I'll be like, listen, get it together, because your stuff is raggedy and you need to come.
Right.
And so we can have that conversation because there's rapport, there is love,
Right.
there is
Mutual respect, honor, all of that stuff. Yeah.
honor. But as a member of what, even if not him directly, but as attached to an entity that was once an oppression and arguably some would argue still is, because when you completely ignore now things, like I heard you all mention like George Floyd and things of that nature, and where those things may, to some degree be overblown, at the root of it, there is an issue. There, at the root of it, there has been a history of over policing. There has been a history of violence. There has, as a person who's grown up in New York City, who has been a victim of stop and frisk on several occasions in my youth, there's a sting there that to act as if it's not a thing, to act as if there wasn't a danger, to act as if that this reality was not what
Right.
I know it so, not only is it hurtful, but it shuts down conversation from the
Correct.
start.
Agreed.
Act as this, and you don't see me and see my truth. We can get to where I need to go in a minute, but you need to see me first, and you need to see my reality first.
Right.
Hear me
I
first.
agree with that.
So he's not representative of that. Now the third pastor, to be honest, when it first came out, it was hearts. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that's a family conversation. And as a family member, he can check us. But you cannot, as an outsider,
I got
not
you.
only us, but check our leadership. And again, ignoring completely the context of this thing, like
I got
as
you.
if it's wickedness and
I understand
just
better now. Thank you for explaining that to me.
Well, I have a question for you. My question
Pastor
is,
Andrew is his name. Pastor Andrew.
well, his profile says Andrew. Do you mind if I call you Andrew, or do I have to be formal? Informal, formal. I want to be respectful.
No, you're
Well, okay. So my question is this, right? You said being that Swaggart is an outsider, but we all, as a part of the body, don't we have a responsibility to sort of hold each other accountable in to some regard? Doesn't our belief and our
Like conviction? Yeah.
conviction or connection to the kingdom, whether black or white, does that disqualify one group from speaking on another group?
I think again, context matters and wisdom. He that winneth souls is wise. There is a way that it's almost as if like the pastor that is maybe rebuking a gay person from the pulpit, and it's in how you say it and how you do it. Is it effective if you calling people faggots and bulldaggers from the pulpit? No. Are they going to hear anything that you say? Is the word going to
No.
Well, now you may be
Permeate.
telling
Yeah.
one, but is how you're saying it going to bring about that repentance, or have you just
Correct.
caused offense? Now they'll never hear what you have to say, and now the word of God can never penetrate their heart and never prick their souls. And so I would venture to say, even had again he added in that context there, that understanding of, listen, I understand why you vote this way. I understand how this has crept in and how the enemy has used and weaponize your hurt and your pain and cause callousness to enter in,
Correct.
and bitterness
Yeah.
in, so that you make decisions leading with your hurt and your pain and your trauma, as opposed to the truth of God. Had he
I don't think
led
he
with
knows
that,
to do that. I don't know if he knows to do that though.
but that's why he's the wrong person to even address it, because
And so I'll
you're-
ask this: how could he ever address it if we never address it? Like, what would be the proper, how do you go from I can't address it to now I can? Like, when does that happen? What does that look like?
I feel God is omnipotent. And it's like this in church. In how I feel about service in church. You know how that person, say their job is to get up and do announcements, and they have a burning fire in them.
Yeah.
The Lord, and so now they're prophesying and they preaching and they laying hands.
Sit down.
He asked you to do the announcement.
Right.
And what you do is trust that God is God enough that he will raise up the appropriate person at the appropriate time to do the thing that he has, that to cause his will to be done in the
Correct.
service. I feel that is of this thing, that you, sir, were not the messenger. You were
Because
not
Pastor
the
Alton actually did that.
huh.
Because the other pastor, the black pastor, actually
Right.
said what he said.
Right. And if you notice, there isn't the blowback. There isn't the response.
I've
You know,
seen some.
well, I mean, of course, there's going to be some, because there's some people who are, as he says, they've made their blackness into their
Okay,
God.
that's what I want.
So
That's the next thing I wanted to go into, because I've seen people now. What happens is people like myself, called the Coon, Uncle Tom, and all the other turncoats and everything else, all the other good names that they find out, and it's, oh, you're an empathizer, you're a colonizer, you're a blah 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 blah. Why is that? Why is it that we don't just think for ourselves, and we have decided that we don't like the way this is going? Why can't that be? Why isn't that the conversation? Why do we now, as black people, like that pastor, several black people, like, lit into him? Oh, he's a this, he's a that. You're not this, you're not
They do the
that.
same thing with like Dad mentioned in the comments. They do the same thing with somebody like Geno Jennings.
Well, he's a trip, but
Yeah, Geno Jennings, he'll rip you a
He's
new
a-
one in front of
Yeah.
everybody.
yeah. So, but why does that happen? Why is that the response?
I think, well, black people are traumatized.
Okay,
Black people are traumatized.
I agree.
And I think there are so many examples of black people who have been co-opted by an agenda of, like, not having our best interest at heart, and being used to be like, you be the face of blackness, and you be the voice of, for your people, to get them to come onto this side.
Who are those
They're-
people, though?
I'm sorry.
So for me, because I agree with you, I didn't mean to cut you off. I agree with you, but the problem that I have had, that, like, as I got older, I realized that was Al Sharpton, that was Jesse Jackson. There was never a black Republican guy that was this person. They were always the other side. You know, the two Republican black men that we had, they killed them. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. He was a registered Republican. He was not a Democrat. He was a registered Republican. So this is what, like, I'm trying to find out, how do we unpack this? Because, like I said, those black leaders that we've had that were put in front of us, they were never on that other side. They weren't co-op. Like, I would like to know, like, who are the ones that were? I guess somebody can say Colin Powell. Somebody even say now, like, Senator Tim Scott, who's down in South Carolina or North Carolina, and he's a Republican. He's towing the Republican thing, whatever else. That's not even my. Just so you know, that's not even my thing. I'm not a Republican. I'm actually more of I have libertarian views. I believe in a small government, individual liberties, that type of thing. Like, that's my perspective. So neither the Democrat or the Republican Party really fit my fancy. Because I'm a libertarian, the Democratic platform and their policies are farther away from my particular political, perspective, what I would like to see happen in America and things like that. But when it comes to the black culture, we haven't even been taught that there is a libertarian party. We haven't even been taught that there is a green party. Like, we don't even know that there are other ways to direct our attention and energy. And so we just stuck. Like, when can we stop and say, no, let's have a real conversation? Because just voting for Miss Kamala because she's black and she's a woman, we got to do better than that.
Right.
Or
I think,
you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we do that as a culture, as a people?
I find in my experience that a lot of like say black people who are a little more illuminated, we have a tendency, unfortunately, at least in my experience, what I've seen, to talk at each other and not talk to. And there is this, like, for example, and sometimes she gets on my last nerve. But she has a point. Like Candace Owens, sometimes she be in her
She is. She's
bag.
OD, but she be on it sometimes.
But see, you know what makes her so off-putting and why people will never hear her truth or hear the truth that she carries is because she is so condescending.
She is.
And her tone is as if you dumb black people, you
Correct.
need to be, what is it, red pill she
Yeah,
uses?
yeah,
And
red pill. Woke up. You need to be waking up.
Democratic plantation, and you're so stupid that you let them, as if there isn't nuance to this. And then other who wholesale rejects the realities that many black people have. And if you don't speak to a person, to a wounded person, because black people are traumatized, if you do not first to their pain and do not first speak to their trauma and acknowledge and say, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and let's unpack that a little bit, you will never get them to shift that space of being the victim.
Correct.
And
I got you.
Because so you have it on the extreme and used for their own evil agenda, where you have the Democratic Party co-opt victimhood and co-opt trauma and use that to say, this is why, if you don't vote for us, you're not black and you don't care about your own. And so you have them use that for their own evil game.
That's
but
correct.
Then you have side that pretends as if it's not a thing.
Right.
And super disingenuous. And the best way for us to have conversation with each other as a family is to say, hey, I feel you, this is a thing, but here's how we get from pain to doing better. Here's how we get from trauma to triumph. This is how but you got to start from the trauma. And I find in my experience, at least, that we don't start there. We start from a condescending, insulting place.
Yeah, I have to agree with you 100%. I mean, in fact, that's why me and my brother decided to start doing this, because we wanted to actually have conversations like this with people to see, okay, well, why? What do you think? Why is that the case? Because I remember I was there, like when I was born and raised here on Long Island, right in New York. My mom hates guns. She's anti-gun. Our households everything was anti-gun, except my grandfather had some. It was interesting, but they were like, no guns, right? I moved to Missouri. I was the odd man out. Everybody got them. And I mean, open carry. This is not like you don't know they got them. They walking past you in the stores, on the street, wherever you at, everybody got them on their hip. Like, wait a minute now. I'm so anti-gun, and over here, everybody has. So if I'm a sitting duck.
Hear me out. The boroughs, the MTA will be much better if folk was allowed to carry at least a pistol on their hip.
I don't know about that one, but New York is an interesting beast. It's very different. That was the country.
Crime would go down. Police brutality would go down.
I think crime would definitely go down.
Right, because if
people
you notice, the areas that have the most gun control have the highest amount of crime. And then as in the alternative, when you see the areas with no gun control like a free-for-all, but what happens is there tends to be less crime. Even the police force respects them more.
It's actually less. It's not necessarily less crime. It's less of a certain types of crime. I'll say that. I'll caveat it that way.
Right.
Usually when you have lax gun control, you have a lower population. That's going to automatically correlate to metrics and crime metrics. And then when you have a tight gun control where you have urban centers, and where you have urban centers, you always have impoverished folk. And that's why you're going to always see particular crime there, because poverty tends to bring out the worst in people.
Can we address that real quick now? Because that was one of the things that was one of the first things that really opened my eyes. I moved to this area. Again, you're right, because it was very rural. We out in the woods. Like, I was by Fort Leonard Wood, which is, they call it Fort Lost in the Woods.
The only thing is that even though the population is higher in the cities, they've never tested it out. Because you live in the boroughs. We don't live in the boroughs, but
yeah, we out here on Long Island, so it's country.
But when we go there,
Yeah.
We know what's up. We see what's going on. So just imagine if somebody with a knife in their hand decided, oh, I'm gonna just start slashing people. If they may have a second thought and say, oh, they might have a pistol, or you get what I'm saying?
Well,
And they can't put enough police because they don't prevent crime. They can only respond to crime.
correct. But here's the thing, like St. Louis. St. Louis is a good example. East St. Louis and all that kind of stuff. It's in Missouri and Illinois. Well, actually, it's Illinois. I think that's the difference. It's in Illinois. Illinois has really strong gun control. The Missouri side of St. Louis is not like East St. Louis. Very urban, skyscrapers, high population, a lot of movers and shakers out there. But everybody is carrying a gun. So there's still petty crimes and stuff like that. People get, their cars will get stolen, but you don't have carjackings. You'll have break-ins and stuff like that, but you don't have like armed robberies because anybody you can walk up to is liable to end your life on that day at that moment. So it's one of those things where I noticed, and again, this is where my mind started to shift. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but at the time when I moved there, I was like, why is it so different? It's a city, and I know it's not as big as New York. I know it's not as populated and as dense as New York, but this is it's a high population city. I said, why does this work here and not in these other places like Chicago, like Detroit, like New York? So for me, one of the things that was pointed out to me by someone was to say, who is running those cities? Who is running those centers? I started to think about where I grew up and the school districts here on Long Island. There are some fantastic school districts. There are some terrible school districts. When I start to compare, okay, what's the difference between these school districts? I started to realize, I said, well, wait a minute now. There's a certain type of people here and a certain type of people here. And when we have these types of people, and I don't want to even say it's white or black because it's not always that way. But I have cousins who are in the school districts and stuff like that, like first, second, third cousins, whatever, in high places in school districts. And I'm wondering why this school district is still so terrible when it's the black pastors that are actually leading them. They're the superintendents. They're the they're the principals. They're the school board presidents. And these school districts are hemorrhaging money, like hemorrhaging. But they keep pointing the finger at them. They're not doing this. They're not letting us. And it's like, well, wait a minute. This school just got how much money? This district got how much money? But everybody else is chilling. All of the school boards and the people are actually living pretty good. But the school district is terrible. And the state is having to come in and take over the school because the grades are so terrible, because the violence and crime in the school district is astronomical. I started to get bothered by that. So what can we do when it's what do we have as a remedy when it's the black pastor who may happen to be a Democrat? I'm not blaming Democrat or Republican, but the reality is the schools that are run by those Republican figures don't look like that. They don't have those same problems. What resolution do we have?
I think a lot of the times, though, what gets ignored is the socioeconomic factors in that. If you come from a home where you don't have your basic needs, you're coming to school angry. You're not caring about learning because it's not your. I remember coming to school and it just feeling like because of our situation, it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. And you don't see success around you.
Right.
It's like they're telling you, oh yeah, go to school, and it seems like somebody's lying to you. Like it seems like a joke. These are often factors that are ignored. It makes me think of what's the guy's name? Is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
And like you have self actualization at the top, and all your more lofty.
Did we lose you?
Battery might have died.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was getting a phone call. Sorry. At the bottom is like food and safety and shelter and things of that nature. So, and when those needs are not met and they're not addressed, it's I'm just putting on my coat because I gotta pick up
Oh,
my
no, you
wife.
good.
But when those needs are not met, it makes it impossible to get to those higher ideals. So when you're talking, about a school system, a school district where the demographic of the students there don't have their basic needs met, and then, well, why are their reading scores low? Because their stomach is touching their back, or
Right.
like they're traumatized by their circumstances. Reading and passing a test and taking exams and all those types of things don't matter to them.
Right. No, I wonder, but is that indicative of the government around? That is like, so right now there's like a revolution happening in Chicago. There are black residents who are making a stand and saying we're not voting Democrat anymore. We're getting you guys out. They have come to the realization and understanding. Was that? Oh,
No, I got you. I got where you're going.
they have come to the understanding that they're like this, because what happens is they find money for stuff that they want to do. That's what I was gonna say. Like these school districts,
Right.
I've seen these schools renovated. They got money. They put money into stuff.
Right.
The people at the top have nice cars. They don't live in the district. They have enough money to have
Right.
six-figure, multiple like six-figure incomes and such like that. So
Right.
they're now in Chicago. These are residents. The people there are like, we're getting you guys out of here because you find money to put into things that you want to put into that benefit you, but you don't put money into things that benefit the other people. And so they're having a revolution over there. If you go and look, there's a massive wave. Like Chicago's about to be a red city, and not the gang wave. Politically, they are flipping the tables on them. They're like, no, we're not doing this anymore because you haven't proved, like we voted you in. We got you guys the positions and nothing has changed. In fact, for them, they say it got worse. So now they're like, we're getting you out and we're going to go this other direction. So my question is, like my curiosity is this indicative of the type of governmental rulership that is there? Is it personal responsibility? Because don't get me wrong, I have been the beneficiary of government benefits. I needed it. There were times I had a business, I lost everything. I needed to be on food stamps, right? Oh, I think we lost him, but he can come back. But I need, there are times when you might need something, but there should be something in you that says, let me try. Let me try to do something different. Let me try to do better. Oh, there you go. We got you back. I was just saying,
Sorry.
no, you good, you good. I know you got to go. You got stuff to do, but I appreciate you being with us and hanging with us, man. This has been really insightful for me,
sir.
to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
thank you for
I
hopping on.
really appreciate the dialogue.
But yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, for me, it was like, is it the government? Is it because I have been in need. I needed help. I needed assistance, and I was glad it was there. But there was something in me that's like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to continue in this. I don't want to have to be taken care of. I want to make my own. I just need y'all to get out my way. I don't need handouts and stuff. I just need to have no resistance, right? So that's kind of where my mindset started to go. So I'm just, and again, I'm not against anyone who votes Democrat. I hope people hear my heart. Everybody has the right to vote whatever way they want, right? They have that right. I'm glad you have the right. What I want to know is why maybe I know the answer. Like you said, the trauma. It's just the vitriol, the hate for someone who doesn't agree with them or who doesn't take the same stance as them. There's often a response. Like I said, I've been treated worse by black folk than any white person ever treated me. Like it's been crazy. Like I've never been jumped by white people, but there was several black, like there's certain things that never happened to me at the hands of white people. So I don't have the story of like, oh, white people have done this, because no, like I had businesses, and I had white patrons, I had white business partners, I had like, so I'm curious if we as a people really just need to stop and reevaluate why we do what we do. That's really my question. That's my heart, is to say, black folk, why are you doing this? And it can't just be because he's orange and she's black. It can't just be because he made, mean sounding tweets. Right. We have to, at some point, if we don't know how or have the tools to overcome trauma, we should seek help to do that. So that way we can get ourselves out of the situation that we're in. And maybe we didn't put ourselves here. I'm not going to say that everybody did that. You just made bad decisions. No, that's not the case. Life happens. Circumstance happens. Has there been redlining? Yes. Has there been mistreatment and lower, not getting loans at banks, higher interest rates, all the, houses being appraised at lower? Absolutely. Those things are real. They happen, right? So I'm not saying everything is just a blanket carte blanche. But when do we as a people say, yo, how did they do Black Wall Street? Because granted, no, they blew it up, but they rebuilt it. Most people don't know that part of the story.
Right.
It was rebuilt. They didn't just accept that you guys blew us up and killed us or whatever else. They rebuilt it. When do we go back to that?
Like one of our relatives says, we got to get away from these people. You know what he's talking about. He says these people, meaning a certain kind of people. But
yeah, because we have friends that believe in segregation now. They want to be separate. Black people have their own stuff. White people have their own stuff. I'm not necessarily against it either, though.
Well, listen. Here's right. Well, here's something about segregation, right? Here's something about segregation that a lot of people just don't understand. First, most of the black folks didn't, at that time, they didn't want integration because they knew the ramifications. They had businesses, they had homes, there was black doctors, black lawyers, black everything. Dr. Claude Anderson, if you don't know who he is, look up Dr. Claude Anderson. Yeah. He has a series of about 7 or 8 books. They're called Powernomics. And he has a plan of what black people can do to economically empower themselves. His mantra is black folks don't need jobs, they need businesses. But his family in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, right before they started doing the integration, he said his family had a bus company with over 500 buses. He said all of a sudden people talking about they want to take the white bus. Somehow those black people were hoodwinked into taking white buses when they had access to 500 black buses in the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He said as a result, that put his family's bus company out of business.
Because people were like, the white is better. Black people started to think that white stuff is better.
Right. And for some reason we have this misconception that every single black person at that time was impoverished. Every single black person at that time was oppressed. Every single black person at that time needed to get a leg up when there were plenty of black folks.
It was actually the opposite. Per capita, black people were wealthier then than we are now, per capita. So that's what
my family.
This is where
fathers ran the home. It was a stronger community, and it was a community with God at the center.
That's what I'm talking about. But this is why I'm like, again, people think I'm a Trumper thumper, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Unfortunately, for some, I'm just kind of like anti-Democrat. I'm not anti-Harris. I was not anti-Biden. In fact, I voted for Obama the first time around. I actually voted for him. Like I said, I was a good Democrat. But what happened was after the first term, I realized, oh, this isn't going anywhere. This isn't going to be any different than, like, he's not going to do anything different than what he did the first time. And that's when my whole perspective started to really change. I was like, well, wait a minute now. This guy, I thought we was going to come up. I thought something was going to happen. I thought we were going to come together as a people. I thought this was going to all take place. And it didn't. Dad, you messing with people now. He said she's a white, she's white and Indian. Well, you know what? I gotta be honest with you. The work that Candace Owens is doing right now is quite interesting, and I hope she doesn't get herself in trouble because she's doing some real journalism and she's digging up some real deep stuff about Miss Harris and her history and her background, and she's got verifiable facts like paperwork, like legit, like birth certificates and death certificates. So this is not conspiracy theory. She's legitimately. She even got stuff on Barack Obama. Like she's doing some. I'm like, she gonna be the next one to end up floating in somebody's river or something like that. Yeah, it's very epic. She's got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm praying for her. I fear for her a little bit. I mean, you know, God will protect her until her time is over or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on that she's coming out with that is absolutely quite crazy, and I don't think people. But what I need us to do though, as black folks, is I need us. God bless you, Pastor Andrew. Thank you for joining us. If you can't hop back on, I love you, man. I look forward to connecting with you again, man. Let's talk properly.
Yeah, well, we don't want to spoil it. We don't want to cover everything in one night.
Yeah, nah. But we got some stuff that we're going to talk about in the next couple of episodes as well, because the election season is coming up on us. And I mean, it's here, and the election day is here. But I want to say something to our folks, man. We got to stop blaming everything on racism. Everything is not racism. Because a white person says it doesn't mean that they are racist. We have to stop doing that. That is disingenuous. That is not true, especially if we're Christians and believers. We gotta understand that human beings are human beings. And some are gonna make mistakes. Some are gonna say things out of context and wrong. Some are gonna say things nefariously, but I promise you that's not the majority. That's the minority. Because if you look at all of the black people that are going Republican right now, they're going to the rallies and they're noticing the difference in the behavior at the rallies. They're like, man, I went to the Republican rally and they just welcomed me with open arms. Even though I had a Biden-Harris on, they were like loving on them and hugging them and shaking their hands. Nobody calling racial slurs and none of that stuff. So we have to be really careful not to bear false witness. We might think that someone does say something out of pocket, or they say something in the wrong tone or at the wrong time. It's very possible. But we cannot, and we must stop blaming everything on racism, because everything is not racism. It's not. Some people just make bad decisions. And it's not because they hate your skin color. It's not because they're participating in a system, specifically what racism is systematized. Right? So someone just walking up to you. Now, redlining is racism. It's a system, right? Trump getting on the microphone and talking about black jobs is not racism. Especially when Biden said the same things in a previous election and nobody said anything about it. So we can't have double standards, y'all. We gotta not do that. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all. One of the other things, voting machines is flipping, y'all. People are early voting. If you're going to go early vote, I encourage you to go do it. Vote early. But make sure you check your ballot. There are already people who have gone early voting, and the machines are flipping the votes. Now, the challenge with this is this. If it was happening on two sides, we could have a discussion about it just being the machines and there's no bias. But the fact of the matter is, it's not happening when people vote for Harris. It's only happening when people vote for Trump. And the votes are being flipped over to Harris. I think that's a problem. And anyone who talks about saving our democracy, which it isn't a democracy, it's a republic. If you want to save the republic, that should bother you. You shouldn't want Donald Trump to lose so bad that you're willing to let cheating do it. That is a problem. That is a major issue. That you're willing to do anything at all costs, including lay down your integrity, to win. That is a dangerous place to be in. And I think that we really have to check ourselves and check our motives, check our hearts.
And I think we also should do research. I think that many of us, we don't do as much research as we should be doing. We take at face value, we make it our gospel as far as certain media outlets, as far as what they say. Whatever it is that CNN says, you believe it. They're doing their job. They're propagating this information. That's what it is. It's propaganda. They're propagating the information to make you believe that Trump is the enemy, right? And then sometimes even the right media, they'll do that about Kamala to make it seem like she's the enemy. I think I said this the other night. I think that Kamala doesn't even really want to be there. I think she's being forced to be there because when you look at her, she doesn't seem fully invested, even in the interviews. As opposed to looking at Trump, he's like, he really wants to be president. So what they probably did was they said, all right, look, Kamala, you're just going to have to do this. You're going to have to make your rounds. We're going to make you president, whether you like it or not, because you're going to be the first president of color, and this is what we want. Like, I don't dislike Kamala. I don't dislike Trump. I don't know either one of them. I can only just go by what they've done, right? But when you look at the implications, it doesn't appear as though she wants to be there. Like, I don't see anything that implies that she actually wants to be the president.
Yeah, absolutely, my brother. It was a pleasure having you, by the way. God bless you, man. Thank you. We're gonna get you on again. We gotta talk about way more than just politics, man. We gotta get into some church stuff. We gotta deal with the church, the black church on black church stuff. So that'll be our next conversation. He said I dislike them both. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Like, listen, like I said, my position is, because whether or not she wants to be there or not, she's there. Like, I think the fact that she was appointed and not elected is that's not really a great thing. We're here now, but I keep hearing the thing about saving democracy. And again, we're not a democracy. We're a republic. A republic has specific systems in place so that way we can keep it. And that's what one of the founding fathers said. In fact, I think it was Benjamin Franklin said that. I gave you a republic if you can keep it. Well, we have a republic and there are systems in place. And when you have a group of people who are willing to forego the system just to win, we got to be able to check our hearts and be like, yo, this is not right. I don't care if you don't like Donald Trump. I don't care if you don't like Harris. I don't care who you love or who you hate. It's irrelevant. What matters is that things are done right and that things are done properly. That should be the first and foremost priority. And if it's not being done right, you shouldn't be silent about it because it's going to benefit the person you don't like or that you're against. That's what this republic is all about. And because of that, even if the one you don't like gets in, unless they are willing to forego the system, you really don't have much to worry about. And right now we have both sides are blaming or accusing each other of doing just that. One side is mostly the Democrats are blaming Trump for being a dictator, and Trump is blaming them for being communists, socialists, and stuff like that. But if you look at their behaviors, I don't think people understand what dictatorship really is. And we got some videos. There's evidence of stuff. There's proof. Right now, the Department of Justice or the Department of Defense has made it legalized for the military to now use lethal force against the U.S. citizens. Trump ain't doing that. That's what Hitler did, right? It's not Trump who did it. It's the Biden administration who did it. So we got to be real careful about who we're pointing the finger at and who we're blaming for these things, or who looks like a communist and a dictator and who doesn't. I charge everybody to go read the book 1984, George Orwell, and then go read the Silent Weapons for, what is it, Dave? Some Silent Weapons for
Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars.
For Quiet Wars.
I got a couple of other ones. Hold on a second.
Yeah, but right now we are in. This is bigger than Democrat and Republican. This is bigger than that. So, all right, guys, we're going to leave you at this point. We've been on for a little while. We're going to leave it for the next episode. Look out for us for another couple of days. Make sure you like this, share this, comment. Everything is open. No discrimination, no judgment here. God bless you guys.